Welcome back to the podcast playground. Our newest podcast is The Best Podcast.
Join Jay Carter and me, Vida Best, on The Best Podcast, where the dynamic duo brings you their insider secrets to everything wonderful. Now Jay and me dive deep into the top 5 everything, from the latest cell phones to affordable wines that won't break the bank.
So tell a friend, you've found The Best Podcast,
where every recommendation is a gem waiting to be uncovered. Tune in weekly for your dose of excellence.
What if I told you that in 2026, the best performing, most rugged, and genuinely most fun to drive cars on the market don't have roaring V8s under the hood, but batteries?
Yeah. I mean, it's a completely wild concept for a lot of people.
Right. Because we spent a century judging automotive excellence by the size of the metal block sitting behind the grille.
Exactly.
It was mechanical, it was visceral, and it felt like this immutable law of the road. But the rule book hasn't just been rewritten this year, it's been completely shredded.
Oh, absolutely shredded.
Today, our mission is to explore the top 5 best cars of 2026.
Yeah, and we pulled the major rankings from Consumer Reports, U.S. News and World Report, and Edmunds.
Right. Just to give you a clear shortcut to understanding the absolute cutting edge of automotive engineering right now. And scanning through these lists, there is an undeniable massive shift that just jumps right off the page.
It really does.
Across all these major publications, for the very first time, every single top-rated vehicle is either a hybrid, available as a hybrid, or fully electric.
Which is, frankly, a total paradigm shift.
Yeah.
Whether you are prepping to buy a car soon or trying to understand where consumer tech is migrating, or, just curious about how engineering solves massive problems, this trend is impossible to ignore.
Totally.
We're looking at a market where electrification is no longer this niche, eco-conscious alternative.
Right, it's not a novelty anymore.
Exactly. It has become the baseline requirement for building a superior automobile. So we're going to break down how the definition of a quote-unquote good car has fundamentally transformed, looking at the underlying mechanics driving this change.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the best place to start isn't actually with the $1 million experimental luxury spaceships.
No, not at all.
The true indicator of a revolution is what happens to the cars you and I see at the grocery store, the everyday commuters.
The ones that are actually in people's driveways?
Yes. When we look at the numbers, these practical vehicles prove that hybrid technology has completely conquered the mainstream.
Yeah, so let's focus on the car that claimed the number 3 spot overall and the undisputed champion of the small car category.
Which is?
The 2026 Honda Civic Hybrid.
Ah, yeah.
Consumer Reports and Edmunds are both calling this the most refined version of the Civic ever produced. But, I mean, it's the test results that reveal the real story here.
And the numbers are just staggering. We're looking at a 2.0-liter 4-cylinder powertrain that produces 200 horsepower.
Right.
That is 50 more horsepower than the standard gas model.
Which is a huge jump for a Civic.
It's massive. It hits 60 miles per hour in 7.5 seconds, which shaves a full 2 seconds off the regular gas Civic's time.
Yeah.
And it does all this while hitting an incredible 44 miles per gallon overall. I mean, I remember when hybrids first hit the market.
Oh, yeah, the early days.
They were the eat your vegetables option of the car world.
That's the perfect way to describe it.
You bought them to save money at the pump, but you had to sacrifice speed and handling. Now, the hybrid Civic is literally the fastest version of the car.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, is efficiency finally becoming synonymous with performance rather than a sacrifice?
Well, what's fascinating here is how engineers are utilizing the underlying mechanics of these modern hybrids.
Right.
They aren't just, bolting a battery onto a gas engine to appease emissions regulators anymore.
Right. It's not just an afterthought.
Exactly. They are using the electric assist to fundamentally rewrite the vehicle's driving dynamics.
How so?
Well, if you think about a traditional naturally aspirated combustion engine, it has a power curve. You have to wait for the RPMs to beat up before you feel that pull.
Yeah.
It's kind of like winding up a toy car before letting it go.
Right. You press the pedal, and there is always that slight hesitation while the mechanical system, catches up to your foot.
Yes, but an electric motor operates completely differently. It's like flipping a light switch. The torque is instantaneous from 0 RPM.
Mm-hmm.
So in the new Civic, the electric assist fills in the trough of the gas engine's power curve.
I see.
The millisecond you press the pedal, The battery provides the initial thrust, masking the time it takes for the gas engine to reach its optimal RPM.
That is so smart.
Consumer Reports actually highlighted this specifically. They didn't just praise the 44 miles per gallon, they focused on the refined power delivery, calling it refreshingly entertaining on twisty roads.
Because it bridges the mechanical gaps. That makes total sense. And looking at the number 2 spot overall, we have the 2026 Toyota Camry.
A classic.
Ranked the number 1 midsize car. But the massive news for 2026 is that the Camry, the default ubiquitous car of the American suburb, is now sold exclusively as a hybrid.
Yeah, that was a huge announcement.
You literally cannot buy a gas-only version anymore.
And Toyota's decision to drop the gas-only Camry is a massive indicator of manufacturing economics.
Right.
It utilizes a highly optimized 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine paired with an electric motor to hit 48 miles per gallon overall.
That's wild for a midsize sedan.
But the reason they made it exclusive really comes down to scale. Battery and electric motor costs have fallen to the point where streamlining their production lines to build one unified hybrid powertrain is actually more efficient than maintaining separate gas and hybrid manufacturing tracks.
Wow, so it's cheaper for them to just make everything a hybrid now.
Basically, yeah. Plus, the electric integration has actually boosted Toyota's legendary reliability scores.
Wait, really? How does adding more tech make it more reliable?
Because the electric motor reduces the mechanical strain on the combustion engine during high-stress moments, like accelerating from a dead stop.
Ah, so efficiency is officially synonymous with performance and reliability. It's not a compromise anymore.
Not at all.
But if everyday cars are using electricity to become these highly optimized, bulletproof commuters, the luxury segment is using the exact same foundation to mutate into something entirely different.
Yeah, the luxury segment has really pivoted toward treating the vehicle as a digital ecosystem.
Right.
And the vehicle leading that charge is the overall number 1 pick for 2026.
The BMW iX3.
Exactly. It was recently crowned the 2026 World Car of the Year by experts from World Car Awards. The iX3 represents the vanguard of what BMW calls their new class generation.
Okay, let's dig into that, because new class sounds like, typical marketing speak, but the sources indicate this is a ground-up mechanical reinvention for them.
It absolutely is. It is a completely new, dedicated EV architecture.
Okay.
Historically, automakers would take a chassis designed for a gas engine and try to shoehorn batteries into it.
Which never worked that well.
No, it was always a compromise.
Yeah.
But the new class architecture is essentially a flat battery pack forming the floor of the car with ultra-compact electric drive units at the axles.
Okay.
This frees up an enormous amount of interior space, but the real leap is the computing power.
Right, the tech.
Yeah, they are moving away from having dozens of separate electronic control units for different core functions and instead using a centralized high-performance computing system.
Wow.
This powers their new iDrive X software and enables their panoramic vision head-up display.
Which I saw. It projects augmented reality graphics across the entire lower width of the windshield.
It's wild to see in person.
It is. And sitting at the number 4 spot, we have the 2026 Cadillac Escalade IQ, which took Motor Trend's SUV of the year.
A massive vehicle.
Huge. It takes that digital ecosystem concept and just scales it up to massive proportions. It boasts an all-electric powertrain with an immense 450 miles of range.
Right.
But the feature that dominates every single review is the dashboard. It is a 55-inch pillar-to-pillar digital display. The screen spans the entire width of the cabin.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we are witnessing a complete redefinition of automotive luxury.
Cool.
50 years ago, luxury meant acoustic noise, the rumble of a massive V8 along with heavy wood trim and just mechanical presence.
Well, you wanted to hear the engine.
Exactly. Because EV architectures provide an inherently silent, vibration-free cabin, automakers are using that serene environment to turn the car into a mobile lounge. They are no longer just competing with Mercedes or Audi. By turning the dashboard into a giant edge-to-edge screen, they are competing with Apple and Google for the driver's attention and digital life.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting and where I kind of have to push back hard on this industry trend.
Okay, let's hear it.
We have a 55-inch screen dominating the front of a 3-ton moving object. We are burying climate controls, wiper settings, and radio dials behind layers of touchscreen menus.
Yeah.
Aren't we creating a massive cognitive load for the driver? It just feels inherently dangerous to require someone to navigate a tablet interface while barreling down the highway at 70 miles an hour, just to turn on the defroster.
That's a very fair point.
I mean, we're losing the physical, tactile essence of driving, and I'm not convinced it's an upgrade.
Well, it's a highly debated point across the industry right now. The tactile feedback of a physical stalk on the steering column requires zero visual attention.
Right, you just feel for it.
You know where it is through muscle memory. Automakers defending these massive interfaces argue that their advanced voice recognition and predictive AI reduce the need to touch the screen at all.
Okay.
The car is supposed to know you need the defroster before you do, or you simply ask the car to turn it on.
I guess.
But your skepticism is definitely shared by many reviewers who find the learning curve steep and the lack of physical buttons maddening in emergency situations.
Yeah, nobody wants to talk to a robot when their windshield is fogging up.
Exactly. The bet companies like Cadillac are making is that buyers of a 2026 luxury vehicle will prioritize seamless digital integration and the sheer spectacle of the technology over traditional ergonomics.
Well, I guess time will tell if that bet pays off, or if we see a revolt back to physical buttons.
Yeah.
But if BMW and Cadillac represent this maximalist, software-heavy vision of luxury, where the goal is to distract you from the driving experience entirely, the number 5 car on our list takes a completely different philosophical approach to the EV architecture.
Ah, yes. You're referring to the 2026 Lucid Air. This is such a fascinating anomaly on the list. The Lucid Air has been on the market for 5 years, yet it remains the undisputed king of luxury EV sedans, holding a near-perfect 9.6 out of 10 score from U.S. News.
It's incredible. It's like a veteran marathon runner who set a blistering pace half a decade ago, and despite all the billions in R&D the rest of the industry has spent, the younger pack still cannot catch up.
It really is.
The Lucid routinely exceeds 400 miles per charge. How is a 5-year-old vehicle not entirely obsolete in the EV space?
Well, this raises an important question about how vehicles actually age when we remove the internal combustion engine.
Okay.
In the tech sector, 5 years is an eternity.
Oh, yeah. The smartphone from 5 years ago is ancient.
Exactly. But Lucid approached the electric vehicle not as a software project, but as a problem of pure physics.
Interesting.
At highway speeds, the vast majority of the energy your car expends isn't moving the weight of the vehicle, it's pushing the air out of the way.
Right.
Lucid engineered an incredibly aerodynamic teardrop shape with a staggeringly low drag coefficient.
So while companies like Cadillac are essentially throwing a giant heavy battery pack into a bluff-fronted SUV to brute force their way to 450 miles of range, Lucid is just effortlessly slicing through the air.
Precisely. They also miniaturized their drive units, the actual electric motors, to an extreme degree, making them highly efficient at managing power.
Wow.
Because they perfected the aerodynamics and the power management hardware from day one, it offsets the natural aging of the battery technology.
Oh, I see.
When you do more with less energy, your vehicle future-proofs itself. You don't need the newest, heaviest battery chemistry if your car simply doesn't waste energy cutting through the wind.
That makes total sense.
And they managed to achieve this aerodynamic shape while offering an interior space that U.S. News notes rivals an executive suite.
It just proves there are multiple ways to solve the range anxiety equation. And sometimes, a perfectly engineered, slippery sedan is the ultimate luxury. Now, we've covered the highly efficient commuters, and we've debated the high-tech spaceships. But I want to bring this top 5 list back to the broader findings from Consumer Reports.
Let's do it.
Because this electrified takeover has breached the final frontier of automotive purism. It has completely transformed the dirt under the fingernails, rugged workhorse segment.
The pickup trucks.
Yeah.
If there was ever a segment defined by loyalty to big, naturally aspirated gas engines, it's this one. But the data from the testing tracks is unequivocal.
Let's look at the Consumer Reports' top pick for a full-size pickup, the Ford F-150.
A legend.
It reclaimed its spot due to improved reliability. But the specific powertrain they highlight as the superior option isn't the traditional 5.0-liter V8. It is the 3.5-liter turbo V6 hybrid.
Yeah, and this is a crucial distinction. When we talked about the Camry and the Civic, we saw hybrid systems tuned specifically to maximize miles per gallon.
Right.
The hybrid F-150 is engineered with an entirely different philosophy. It uses electrification to prioritize absolute brawn over fuel economy.
And the numbers back that up completely. The hybrid F-150 produces 430 horsepower and an unbelievable 570 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah, and to understand why that matters on a job site, you have to look at how that power is delivered.
Okay.
The F-150's traditional V8 engine produces 410 pound-feet of torque. The hybrid bests it by 160 pound-feet.
which is a huge jump.
It is, but more importantly, it's about the synergy of the hybrid system.
Oh, so?
The F-150 sandwiches an electric motor between the V6 engine and the transmission. Turbocharged engines are notorious for quote-unquote turbo lag, that momentary delay while exhaust gases spool up the turbocharger to deliver power.
Right, but as we discussed earlier with the Civic, electric motors don't have lag.
Exactly. The electric motor provides massive instant torque from 0 RPM to get a heavy load like a boat or a trailer filled with concrete moving from a dead stop.
Oh, that's brilliant.
By the time the electric motor's initial burst begins to taper off, the turbochargers on the V6 are fully spooled up and seamlessly take over.
Wow, so they cover for each other.
Yes, the two systems perfectly mask each other's weaknesses. The result is a truck that outpulls the V8, operates far smoother under a heavy load, and puts significantly less strain on the mechanical components.
And the hybrid approach scales downward just as effectively, right?
Yeah, it does.
Because Consumer Reports also crowned the Ford Maverick as their small pickup top pick. It's the weekend warrior alternative.
Yeah.
Utilizing a smaller 2.5-liter hybrid setup that pulls an incredibly impressive 37 miles per gallon overall.
Right. The Maverick and the F-150 perfectly illustrate the flexibility of modern electrification.
Yeah.
You can tune a hybrid architecture to deliver 37 miles per gallon for a nimble commuter truck, or you can calibrate it to produce earth-moving, low-end torque for a heavy-duty work vehicle.
Right.
It fundamentally outperforms traditional combustion in both scenarios.
So what does this all mean? I want you to really think about the implications of this list. If a battery-assisted V6 F-150 is out-towing, outmuscling, and outperforming the classic V8 engine on the job site, is this the final nail in the coffin for the traditional gas-only truck?
I mean...
For decades, the argument against electrification was that it couldn't handle real work.
Yeah.
That it was too fragile or too focused on saving the polar bears to haul lumber.
Right.
But if the very people who require raw power the most are getting tangibly better results from a hybrid, the old arguments collapse entirely.
They do. The engineering data has effectively ended the debate regarding capability. Automakers have figured out how to harness electrification as a tool for raw performance.
Yeah.
The hybrid F-150 doesn't force a contractor to compromise on capability. It provides a demonstrably superior tool.
Exactly.
The hybrid Civic doesn't force a commuter to accept sluggish acceleration. It gives them a faster 0 to 60 time. And the EV architecture doesn't force luxury buyers to accept a loud cabin. It provides the silent foundation needed to run a 55-inch theater screen.
It really brings this entire deep dive into sharp focus.
Yeah.
The defining characteristic of the top 5 cars of 2026 is the absolute death of compromise.
That's a great way to put it.
You no longer have to choose between going green and getting the fastest, most capable, or most luxurious vehicle on the lot. The electrified options have simply become the quote-unquote best versions of every single vehicle class across the metrics that Consumer Reports and U.S. News test for.
It is a remarkable engineering triumph. The transition from pure internal combustion to widespread electrification was incredibly turbulent. But looking at these refined, hyper-capable vehicles, we are clearly on the other side of that growing pain.
It's an incredible era for automotive engineering, but as we wrap up, it leaves me with one final provocative thought for you to mull over.
Oh, boy.
As the industry races headlong into a future of dead silent motors, glowing edge-to-edge screens, and seamlessly smooth computer-controlled acceleration, what happens to car culture?
That's a deep question.
Right. Will future generations of drivers look back and become nostalgic for the imperfections of the past?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Are we going to romanticize the smell of a garage, the violent vibration of an engine block, and the physical resistance of mechanical buttons clicking into place? Or is the sheer capability, the effortless speed, and the massive technological leap of a 2026 vehicle going to make us forget the mechanical era entirely?
It's hard to say.
Because the data is clear. Popping the hood today reveals a microchip, not a beating mechanical heart. And whether we feel nostalgic about it or not, that microchip is simply outperforming the mechanics in every way imaginable.